So yeah, guys, we are byProduct, as you guys are already familiar with. We created this community. I think it's almost a year, right, Mike? The end of this
Um,
year would be one
yeah.
year.
We're coming up to 10 months, aren't we?
Right, we're 10 months to kind of promote the conversation within product for product leaders within Berlin and beyond, hopefully, so that there's a safe space where people can share ideas, have sessions like these, ones that we're having with Pavel today, and hopefully learn something out of it, right? And be better leaders. There was an idea of actually meeting new people and having a conversation outside work, which a lot of us really need with the kind of work we do in product. And I think this kind of format of conversation and asking questions is really, really cool. And it promotes a lot of collaboration as well. I certainly learn a lot of things that I apply within my current role as well. So I definitely would recommend more people join our course. Cool. So Mike, I'll hand it over to you.
Yes, so that's me. I work for OnSource.
Cool photos.
Yeah, yeah. So we're a tech recruitment business. Basically, we work with companies to help them put their talent attraction strategies in place and actually hire people and keep hold of them in what is a very crazy market at the moment. But a big part of what I do is, and what we do as a business is actually putting something back into community. And Nicole and I came together at the end of last year because we saw a gap. There's a bit of a need, we feel, for closer collaboration and knowledge sharing, and hopefully byProduct is doing that in its own small way. And obviously Nikhil, now product lead at Penta. So
Yes, indeed.
busy. What, 5 teams? Or
It's a lot of teams, and it's very busy. And we are also actively scaling up and adding new people to the team. So it's been really fruitful. And it's only been a month and some change. And I feel the right vibe. So I'm happy.
Cool.
This may be the part of where you actually get some input from these sessions to actually grow.
Yes,
exactly.
Go ahead,
so now we're going to be handing over to Pavel.
Yes.
So about myself, like I'm like product guy, operational guy, and IT guy. I have like more than 20 years of experience. I have MBA and product executive education. Basically on the next presentation, what I show you next, I'll show only, I would say, my real life experience, which can be like maybe not really theoretical wise, but more really like real life applied.
That's just a little bit on the next event that we'll be running on the 13th of October. And a little bit at the bottom there that just emphasizes the community aspect of byProduct. And now going into this presentation, we just want to reinforce the idea that, ask questions. If you want to know anything, talk and communicate, we're more than happy to help.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
All righty then.
So over to Pavel. You can take the controls.
Presenter rights.
So for my presentation, again, I have pretty much of experience like for building B2B products and working like with the backend stuff. And I just basically want to share experience. Like, not much about like data driven for back office product. And this presentation is basically fulfill this, I would say, gap in the information that you can find. This instance. So product development cycle, I will start like I would say from the very beginning. It's agile approach, I would say, iterative, like it's the most common one. You have like idea what you want to do, like an input from external ways. You have a plan of what to do. You define the way of implementation, do this implementation, and you get like feedback, and then basically decide what to do next. And what we can talk about data-driven this part. It's, I would say, pretty simple. It's making this decision of what to do next based on the dynamic of like previously defined KPIs and the dynamic of it. So it can look like that. So in the idea, you basically identify what type of KPIs will be changed and how. You make these assumptions, you do this develop, you do this like testing phase, and then you say like, okay, we achieve this goal or not. And based on this like achievement or not, you basically can give another decision. That's pretty simple idea of data-driven. Basically drive and steer the product based on the data. KPIs is one of the core parts of this process. It should be like business related. So it should be like basically define the business process. They should be measurable. So you can understand like if they are changing on the positive, negative side, you can actually understand like measure it like in absolute numbers or relative one. They should be transparent in terms of I would say everyone should understand like what's it all about, and no latency. For some KPIs, they're basically like show you some results like in half a year. There's like no, would say, value in them. So at some point, I would say it's all about KPIs. So I would just basically want to focus on this part. I'm separating again from my experience. It's maybe not really conventional. I would separate products from external and internal. An external product, I would think it's about the products which are like created by the company, but which are used by users, external users. It can be like mobile applications, website, or, I don't know, chat systems, and so on. And then users are external users. And internal users, internal product, it's where the users are someone inside the company itself, and they're solving basically some kind of like internal company problems. I can name like CRM solution, ERP solution, everything like automation, decision management system, and so on. And yeah, for external product, we have like pretty defined targets. We need like more leads, high conversion customers. We basically want to get like inbound capital, income capital as much as possible. It's money, fame, knowledge, or something. For internal, it's a bit different. It's more focused on expenses. So we want to lower the cost. We want to basically increase speed of doing something. We want scalability and efficiency. And at some point, like talking about business, it's about, I would say, the difference between what we get like inbound and what we like do as costs. It's like basically define our profit. And to steer this up, so to understand how our product is actually influence this KPI, like income or outcome, we should define KPIs. And for external product targets, this, I would say, domain is pretty mature. So you can easily identify like a KPI which should be targeted, measured, and how they should be measured. We have a lot of systems how to do it. Like you have like customer acquisition costs is pretty transparent, like conversion rate, you can easily to calculate and collect retention, like basket, NPS, all they are discovered. For internal product targets, it's a bit more complicated. So because you're like working with cost and you're actually thinking about more of the money and time, and like the most, I would say, defined was basically like burn rate, like money burn rate. For other stuff and product related stuff, we are talking about like product steering. It's a bit, I would say, complicated to actually like collect and use this data. So that's why I want to focus on this presentation, basically on this part. Issues for this, a lot. Less best practices. So if you like Google like product related KPIs, they're mostly all in internet will be like about external product KPIs, not internal. So there's not much, I would say, like best practice solutions and so on. Another part is require some level of business awareness of analysis. So you need to understand like the whole business process to actually identify this stuff. It's tricky to measure, tricky to decompose because it's not yet, like I would say, mature in most companies that I work with. And at some point, it's tricky to basically evaluate how these KPIs influence, so say, the product development cycle. So it requires some process. But still, we need these KPIs because for expenses, which we will target for internal products, we can, I would say, manipulate with this. It's easier than for the external user products. It's more scalable, so you can identify the way how you can scale your costs. You actually like can reduce it a lot. For product development purposes, you can use it like for selling product for internal customers to identify what you should do next with it, prioritize, and actually understand like your influence of the process itself. So how to define them? I would say it's pretty primitive at some point. Again, my experience, like I would define it for three parts. It's time and money, which can be like derivative one of each other, and people involved. if I would focus on like time and money KPIs, like all of them have like pros and cons. And like for time and money, it's, I would say, they're transparent. It's easy to measure like how much time is like sum of process takes, how much money does it take, easy to convert from each to another. And again, it's pretty transparent in terms of like scalability. So if you like remove it, like lower it a lot, then means that you're lowering the cost a lot. Consequences, business processes are changed, and I don't know, working with this like time and money, it's not really like easy to fix the same goal. So to actually measure, to have ability to compare like one KPI to another, because you need to measure like the dynamic between them. They can have a lot of latency. So for some business processes can take like a lot of time to actually, I would say, reach them, and can be influenced by external factors. Two approaches that we can use is basically to sell, I would say, the product for internal customers. So if we want to develop something that will like, we can describe that it will save time and money. And I would say the different approach, if we will not do this, like develop something, that means that if we'll not do something, that will require more money, hire more people, pay more money, because it will basically try to prevent, I would say, future costs. For people involved, KPI, it's a bit, I would say, less straightforward, but I think it's one of the most important in terms of like holistic approach for the company. If you have like work with the enterprise, it's really, really usable and visible there, like this problem of people involved KPIs. It's basically how many people are well involved in the business process. So how complicated is that? How many dependencies you have inside, and so on. And they have again like pros and cons. You can easily like measure how many people there, and it's pretty much transparent. And I would say, from my experience, it's like lowering the stuff is really, really have good influence on the like working company as the whole. Contrast more or less the same, but yeah, it can like basically like increase the barriers, and yeah, like really, really dependent on qualification of the people involved. So like people change in the process, it can like easily like shift the goal itself. Yeah, so for KPIs, we can define what we talk about, like what's the data-driven part in terms of these KPIs. How to implement that? I would just basically want to share like example. It's pretty primitive at some points. I would take a like business process of send a letter to a business partner. It's like pretty simple if you understand that. And we can split this, I would say, business goal to a user path, which is like required from the product perspective. So there's like multiple steps. We can like send like someone need to log in, someone get like list of contacts, find the partners, like create a mail, send it. It's pretty straightforward and can be like split, and each of this part can be like basically measured. Yeah, and based on this like path, if we actually split this part, decompose this part on multiple stuff, you can actually understand how to do this like product performance KPI. It's well, like for money time, it's basically time from like starting point of this path and to end both end goal on this path. And the data-driven is basically the idea to measure this KPI, understand that this KPI is not only like product performance KPI, but it's represent the cost of the company of doing some like business result. Understand that we can save, like lower this time, and like results of the saving some money, save some time. And data-driven is basically measured as much as possible in every development, every new feature, measure the change of this KPI and make our decisions based on this change. Let's pretend we're talking about, I would say, time KPI. So we understand like before some feature development or before some adjustments, we have like 120 seconds of the full path, like an average for like 1 month, measured like from the beginning until end. And after some improvements, we like cut the cost for like, cut the time for like 10 seconds. The same path like takes 10 seconds. Like I don't know why. Like we have it, and that means that value of our product, like additional value for our product, is this 10 seconds. And the idea of these 10 seconds is like can be like easily translated to time. So like if we monthly have like 30,000 emails, and for every like 10 seconds saved on email, we are saving like 83 hours per month. So it's like it's kind of like business transparency. We can talk with everyone. So we can like our feature designs to actually like all over this KPI. And for further development, you can actually see like if your additional feature remove like increase or decrease this KPI. That's part of the data steering. It's, I would say, only the entrance of the data-driven part, because the next step will be, I would say, decision-making part in terms of like product development. So because working with the internal products is always working with business processes, and business processes are all about money at some point. And we need to consider like ROI as the king of all, I would say, KPIs in this term, because ROI is describing our like measure of impact versus outcome for our development. And then our decision making look like that. So we like know our product KPI, and then we can calculate potential like ROI for this development. Based on this ROI, we can easily after that do the like decision making. If this feature worth our effort or not, should we develop this or not? If performance of what we are doing, like as a team, as a product, is actually like worth it, and you can like calculate it, you can assume it, you can actually steer, I would say, a product based on this value. In daily life, I would say in like small feature, it's not really possible. You can only like assume at some point, but I would say the general approach is that it's really like valuable. You can use it a lot in terms of like prioritization, like daily work prioritization of features, prioritization of featured product development, and how and who should use it. So I would say this like general approach. To implement that, I would say tech part. It's not really complicated. You need to collect all the data for every step. You need to basically every event, every activity of the user, you need to collect everything, store it like everywhere you can, like in JSON or whatever. And there are a lot of, I would say, systems right now which can work with this data and be like not only like with the warehouse with the data lake, but actually like do your analytics, definition, calculation of this KPI and monitoring. In my experience, I use like Mixpanel and Analyx. They're like really out of the box solution. You can just basically install, like put it to their like events and define your KPIs, and like really like not really, I would say, a skilled person can do it. And you can easily like define these KPIs and monitor them. A lot of people do it like via reporting. So like basically pre-process this data like from JSON to actually report, and then use it like from in the part of business analysis. So like not only the like end result and user KPI, but like the product as well included there. And I use a lot of basically Splunk, ELK analog, because I have like pretty much experience in IT, and this I would say products are pretty, I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with that, and I can easily actually recommend that. They're pretty scalable and agile. It requires some like skills in terms of like implementation, but after that you can easily like scale your ability to understand and translate them not from like only business insights, which will be there, but from technical insights as well. So I can basically play on the both fields there. Yep. If you'll do it, like define KPIs, collect the data, understand the business process, split it, collect it, process it, it will enable you to do that. You can easily like collect additional information during the user path. So like for every path, you can understand like if your goal is like goal completion, if one of the KPI is goal completion, you can understand on which particular stage you can basically have a drop off. It's the same concept that you have like for like client-faced APIs, like for mobile applications and so on. It's not really common to use it for backend application. But I see like the huge benefit of it, because again, you can easily understand like how your users are working with your features, with your like scenarios, and where the drop off there, what is lacking, what functionality is lacking. So you can see like this some, I would say, user completion drop on a particular phase. You can actually like, I don't know, reach this client, like reach this user and ask like why. I mean, it's internal user. It's pretty easy to reach. It's not like external client. So I would actually suggest you to do that, and all previous like systems actually allowing you to do it like in real life, like real time. So you can like implement that and see like if you implement a new feature, you can easily like see the graph of how much people start using this new feature, how much people is actually like finishing using this feature. So it's not really complicated to implement if you like have this preparation of KPI and data collection prepared. Another part is you can easily implement the feedback, like quick feedback from users. If you have ability to in every, I would say, stage of this user path, give ability for users to complain, even without like any definition of the problem itself. So you just basically need one button, I'm not happy. And then you can actually, if you have a lot of data about this user not happy on which particular stage, you can like use the statistics for that. So for each stage, you can understand how much users were unhappy, like you can understand like where they are dropped, what they don't like, and then you can basically like do the customer development phase when you understand like on some phase you're not really good as you can do. And data and data collection and data visibility in terms of like analysis is actually like enable you to do that. Yeah, and like really, I would say straightforward, but I see that I would say rarely who is doing it is to monitor and prevent like problems. If you have again like business process defined, split by station, you can collect data on every stuff. You can understand like and create an alert if on some particular stage like user basically can't move further. And you can like create automatic alert for that, and you can actually like basically prevent any problems before the escalations actually start. It's a really powerful tool for B2B, for enterprise, for back office, because you start implementing some feature which I would say enable business to, deliver something, and then you maybe feature like buggy, I don't know, something happens, mistake, error, whatever. And the issue that you actually understand then only when users start complaining, and it can take some time until it will be like escalated to you, like maybe hour. With alert and stuff, you'll become like really instantly, so you can like easily lower the time you react and solve the problem. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, and that's I would say basically it. For data-driven part, it's like complicated topic itself, a lot of there. We'll share like the presentation after the meeting itself. There will be like a couple of appendixes. I will give I would say the example how to do like a real life scenario. I just don't want to like vocalize them. It's a lot of data there, but please feel free to read it. But overall, the idea is again pretty simple. You need to identify like business process you define. You need to measure them, understand how these KPIs are linked with the business result at some point. Like create the infrastructure to actually like measure them and like make decision based on them, and do this iterative approach. And like your decision leads to this KPI change, and then you can like after you measure the KPI change, you can understand what to do next and prevent problems, obviously.
Excellent. Thanks, Pavel.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? We've got a Q&A function hit on the bottom. I'm sure Pavel will be happy to answer any of those.
If you have any questions post-event as well, feel free to just put it in the channel, everyone. We're pretty responsive in there. We see things coming up. More than happy to respond and answer. Yeah,
and even after the webinar, guys, do not, feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions.
Yeah, and we can put this recording into the channel, and the slides and the appendixes we can make available in Slack. So anyone who's missed this or rewatching it, I guess everything's there for you.
I think there were a few people that joined late, so the sending an email analogy might be a bit confusing if you joined in at a later stage. But yeah, we'll make that available later.
Pavel, I have a quick question if you have time. So you talked about the KPIs being low latency, which means that never define a KPI that would probably move in like 6 months or a year, for example, right? Ideally, do not define one. How do you avoid that, right? How do you avoid that? Because like there's some KPIs, for example, like we want more customers, just as a KPI, right? There might be some certain steps that need to take place in order to actually move that KPI later. But again, how do we reduce that latency time is what my question is.
Yeah, I understand that. It requires some, I would say, business awareness of what you're doing at some point. Realistically, maybe for the long, I would say, cycle business, it's maybe not really possible. but you can try at some point. The idea of long-term KPIs that define, and I would say, the real business result. I mean, if you are talking about sales, like, and you have a really long sales cycle, your KPI will be like a number of sales at some point. But you can easily decompose this to like multiple KPIs, which actually influence this end result. I mean, to have a lot of sales, you need like to acquire a lot of customers. So acquire a lot of customers, you can calculate easily, like how many customers like join today. So it's low latency KPI. Like your, I don't know, like sale process involve, I don't know, like 20 contacts per person, like per client. Okay, so you can calculate easily how much contacts like each consultant they actually like take each like per client, stuff like that, like per time. This is a low latency KPI. So then this combination of multiple low latency KPI like leads to the end result, and that's why I'm saying like it's a pretty like complicated process to define these KPIs, because it's like really require business analysis, understanding like the process itself, not only like from the IT product perspective, but actually from the business process. Like, I don't know, one of the factors is you like from sales, it can be like really you can dive deeper there, like amount of money you spend of like on advertising. And this can leave like for more clients on your side, and like you can measure the conversion, and then like basically measure like conversion. If conversion growth, then you can understand like maybe like potential next customers growth, and then you can like have more sales. So I would suggest basically to target for more lower latency KPIs, because for low latency KPIs, there are like multiple factors when you actually like get there. If you like have a really like long cycle of getting to this KPI one way or another, it can be a lot of like different other influence factor. And it's not, I would say, basically your product influence on only your product is influence this factor. So you need to like actually understand what you are influenced on, like what your product. If you're like working with the CRM solution, you can, I don't know, with the terms of like sales, you can measure the amount of like contacts, but you can't measure like how many leads are acquired like on the site, because like it's another product, like completely another product. So you can need to understand like the domain that you're kind of like responsible on, and like what's the business result of what you're doing. And after that, you can like decompose the KPIs and actually target these KPIs.
Makes sense. Do you guys also use cost of delay as one of the KPIs to influence your decisions at all in any back office functionalities?
What delay? Sorry.
Cost of delay, like cost of delaying delivering a feature, for example.
Not in terms of like feature itself, but I mean, yeah, it's actually a good point. It can be like a factor because you are late with the lowering the cost at some point. But I mean, you can keep it like really you can do it like really complicated stuff and create like a huge model about influence. But at some point, the idea is to keep it like simple and predictable and transparent. And cost of delay is require more, I would say, calculations at some point,
right,
like including this more factors into it, and then you say like, okay, like what we actually like influence there, what is feature, like this model become really complicated and you become lost. Not the best way to, I would say, to do it. So like it's better to keep it simple. Like if you understand like your influence time, like lowering the effort, stuff like that, measure it, like understand what you mean by effort, measure it, and they say, okay, like now I'm lower the effort like on 3%, and at least like to save like this amount of money. Straightforward, pretty easy to communicate, easy to sell.
Okay, great. What's the biggest challenge in steering a back office product with data?
Understanding. And in my experience, I would say I had like multiple legacy projects, and like taking care of legacy project and taking like greenfield project. When I start a greenfield project, I started like from data collection part, and I started like from feature. I start from data collection, understanding the stage and like how we should collect the data. For legacy projects, it was not like that. So it was really complicated in terms of like collecting all the stages, all the steps, all the like providing this infrastructure, and it's really hard to, I would say, integrate it retrospectively into already existing product. But if you're in this situation when you actually get a legacy project and you try to improve it, I would suggest to invest like really like suggest to invest months of time if it's required to actually do this data integration, because otherwise without data it's only your like basic gut feeling, or maybe like indirect assumptions and I don't know, feedback of customers, which can be like really subjective. With data you can actually support your next decisions, I would say, and it's part of us being like a product management or a manager to identify like what we should do, and we should like do and make this decision not based on like gut feeling. At some level we need to actually like support our ideas or something.
Great.
Cool, very
Awesome,
good,
folks.
I think that's everything covered.
Yeah.
Do you want to should we just go back to the other slideshow just to talk about the event that we've got coming up as well, because there were a few people that joined halfway in and won't have seen it at the beginning.
Sure. We can do a quick roundup and then let everyone go and enjoy their Tuesday.
So as Charlie said, we've got another event planned. So that's middle of October on the 13th, same time. And Mirella, who is the founder of Berlin-based Product People, which is product consultancy, will be running through how you found a consultancy in the product space. So she's a great presenter. She's, does things regularly with a lot of people in Berlin. So some of you may already know of her or even know her, but that should be an interesting one, and hopefully we'll see you on that as well.
Yeah, there'll be details to follow in the byProduct Slack channel. And as always, if you've got any ideas or recommendations for future content or events, just drop it in there and we'll be happy to listen to it and try push it out.
Like any good product, we need feedback.
Yeah, we do. Lots of it. And I want to thank you, Pavel, for running through the slides and giving a great presentation. It was awesome. And definitely taught me a lot in terms of KPIs as well. So I hope everyone else enjoyed it as well. Oh, thank you, Chietza. All right.
Great stuff. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
And
Thank you,
yeah,
guys.
we'll look forward to seeing you in Slack. Bye.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh.